Hola. Oh, ahora yo me escucho.
Okay, now we are ready. Thank you for coming. I'm Gabriel. And if you allow me, I'll take 2 minutes of your lunchtime. Do you remember me? I'm this standing on the left. Nicolas presented this picture. The fact is that Fabian and I went to London, to Apple headquarters and laboratories. And for a long, long time, I was able to hide this news, not appearing in the press. I always sent Fabian, but I couldn't make it. I have a short video to share with you, if you allow me. This will take 2 minutes of your lunchtime. All right, I wanted to say that this is the focus, that's Fabian. And Fabian has a presentation this afternoon, and he'll talk about the adventures at the Apple laboratory. If you were paying attention, I was playing with this instrument. I'm the marketing manager for GeneXus, and one of the things that few people know is that during the day I'm a marketing manager, but I'm a rock and roll man every evening. I'm obsessed by music, and I want to start my presentation with this ukulele. It's a Hawaiian string instrument. George Harrison loved it. He's a Beatle, one of the Beatles. He liked it so much that he carried ukuleles in his car. When he visited Bob Dylan and his friends, he always took an ukulele as a present. He loved it. And ukulele has become more and more popular. You see it everywhere. Uruguayan musicians have ukuleles. I have an ukulele. And it's become very popular. Such a small instrument. And why? Why do I bring an ukulele to my presentation? I bring it because I love this instrument for everything it is not. It is an instrument that has to sacrifice a lot to become what it is. Very small. Anyway, you can do lots of things. There are many decisions made to come to the size, to the cheap wool. It's a very cheap instrument, uses very little low quality wood. However, if you want to play and have fun and accompany a song, you can do that. That's why it's become so popular. And it is different. I thought it was the best example to start my presentation. What's next? Be different. So here we go. This is based on 2 books that were published 30 years different. One is called Positioning, and it referred to how to differentiate products in the 80s, when supermarkets had lots of things. So how can a company mark a difference? And lots of recommendations were given. This was very much used by people in marketing. The other book I found in 2010, it's a kind of a new glance over the same issue. They are both on marketing, and when you read marketing books, they are very boring unless they talk about the success of a company. But these books are out of ordinary. They make you think a lot. The first one talks about segmentation, targeting, and positioning of brands. For those of you who are not aware of this, well, the market is not a dense object. The market is made up of different segments. Could be ages, could be many other segments, but basically the book told you that you need to find the segment you are targeting, then design an offer, and then give a message to position yourself. You cannot go to the whole total market. And this was used a lot. This book was very popular. It differentiates brands and products, but it was used so widely that one day you go to supermarkets and we find this. Which one do I take home? Virgin oil, extra virgin oil, extra virgin oil. So how should I know which to choose from? So there's a river of names and sameness. Everything looks alike. Whatever the category, it matures and this happens. It's unavoidable. Why? There's one problem. And the biggest problem happens in all categories. Well, it happens in mass production products, and I say no, it happens in every industry. For example, movies. You probably noticed. Year after year, the movies industry release films that talk about the same thing: volcanoes, air crashes, wars. This year it was for this topic, and two different industries do the same theme, and they think about similar things. Dante's Peak and Volcano, Bugs and Beaches, Deep Impact and Armageddon. This may happen at the level of movies. The other day, last year, I was walking along the street and I looked at a car and said, I think I know this car. It's not a Honda Fit, it's a Nissan. So, come on, is it Nissan? Is it Honda? Look at these cars. They're very similar. But then, this was the previous year of Honda. Two different makes that have the same car, basically. It happens everywhere. It happens in software. In OS, it's very common. You start maturing the category and you copy functionalities. iOS and Android were very different, but now there is a trend that many of the good functionalities are shared by both. Or the spooky assistants. You have one in Microsoft, one in Apple and Google, and now Facebook has a spooky assistant. They start coming up. A few months ago there was an article and said it's official, everyone has the same plan for text future. Apple makes announcements, they have new things, but then they incorporate things that they copied to the iPad, to Microsoft. Then Microsoft announces something new, but it was copied. And it happens in all industries. Amazon had a cloud, then Microsoft had a cloud, now IBM has, and everybody's doing more or less the same. The category gets to a maturity level and they all move towards the same direction. And this generates a problem for the users. Which product to choose? Which is the cheapest? And they choose something. This is not the situation we want as companies. We manage products and we want products that are unique, that are differentiated from the others. We want them to choose us, to buy from us. But the truth is that markets and companies act like flocks. And I'll tell you a story. This is a flock of birds, just in case. Mr. Craig Reynolds in the 80s was a mathematician who studied modeling of systems. He wanted to model a flock. And he said, how can I model a flock if I use a computer? We need so much computing power. And he realized that it was not that complicated, and he solved it in 3 simple rules. The first, separation. The members of a flock have a different level of separation from one another. Then in general, they go towards the same direction. That's their alignment. They automatically know where the flock is moving to. And finally, they need a level of cohesion so as not to disperse. So that's where the average bird goes. These three rules allow us to understand this self-organized system. And the product categories are also self-organized systems. To be organized, there are two requirements. The first is to have a sensory system to evaluate what's going on, and then the willingness to apply changes or correct the direction. So, thinking about category products, each company wants to differentiate the products in some different way. Then, each company seeks to create products in line with what is expected for that category. And finally, each company tries to go where the average positions of other companies is. In the second, you evolve towards one direction and companies know where they're heading to. And the second, they try not to separate from each other, not to stop belonging to that category. So separation, alignment, and cohesion. Where does this come from? Why does it happen? The business culture teaches us, for example, if you go to a management MBA, you learn the same. One of the truths is know thy competitor. Have your enemy close by. Listen to your customers. But also listen to your clients helps you, and I will tell you why. And MBAs love matrices. They like to segment markets according to variables, and they position the brands in those matrices. For example, imagine cars. Arbitrarily, I have two categories, fun and security, safety. If it's fun to drive but not safe, Audi. Now, if I want a boring car but safe, Volvo. Good. That's the point of departure. We have Volvo, very safe, not so fun to drive. Audi, which is fun to drive but not so safe. So marketing at Audi say, what is Volvo doing? The car is safer. It's safer. And Volvo, what do they think? What is our competitor doing? They have a fun car, but... So this is what happens in the end. We have Audis that look like Volvos and Volvos that look like Audi. It's the same car with two different brands. That's one of the dangers. Nicolas Jotal always tells us, don't focus on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths. Because of that, if you focus on your weak points, you move to the average and you look similar to the others. If you strengthen your strengths, you differentiate more. This is what we want as brands. And one of the things that the book says, the more diligently firms compete with each other, the less differentiated they become. And this opened up my mind. It was mind-boggling. After you start reading it and you see this everywhere, this is what really happens. Another important thing is the paradox of progress. We are in the world of technology and we love the evolution of technology. These are my two kids, and this is a parenthesis. The author said, I have two kids, and said, oh, I also have two kids, fine. And she talked about the kids and the relationship with parents. Parents look at their kids and they see several things. They see their past. At a time they cannot remember so well, so they treasure. We have to treasure what they are so we can tell them afterwards. And at the same time, we are trying to know what they will turn into. What will they do? We guide them to their future. And that happens with product categories. If you start thinking about one product, like lighting, we know the past. We know candles, then there's lamps, then these other more efficient lamps, then the LED lamps. And we are not experts, but we know that in the future, lamps will consume less, will give more light, and will be cheaper. That's what will happen, or we expect that to happen. So categories evolve in two ways. On the one hand, by adding features, This is what we love when we are in systems. I'm not a systems person, but I'm part of that group. Then we have a product that is better with new features. It's better than the previous one. Time goes by and we add more features, more features. The problem is that there will come a point when we look like a fiaturitis affected person. It's a disease, like the control, like the remote. They have more keys than a scientific calculator. Then a product can evolve by multiplying options. We have the original product like Coca-Cola, then Coca-Cola Light, Coca-Cola with sugar, zero, and we start generating more and more. And we have 50 models within one category. What do you like? Is this good? Which to choose? In the end, we couldn't care less. There are so many options that the category is no longer important. That I call optionitis, to call it as a disease. And the road to indifference is very easy. You have a product, you add a new feature, customers like it, so competitors match the new feature and it becomes a standard, so the customer come to expect that level of features and we start all over again. For example, waters. We have high-ranking waters, Perrier and Evian, and now we have just water, lots of water. And it could be argued that product augmentation is but an expensive route to commoditization. It's a very expensive way to get to commodities again. So the paradox of progress is that things evolve, improving, until they start getting worse. If you look at that, if you pay attention, this is true. Now, what companies do to escape from the herd or from the flock of birds, there are 3 basic strategies to do that, according to the book. I did not invent them. Maybe there are more, but the book refers to 3. The first, reversal. Basically, to do the things your competitors are not doing. Imagine it's 1997 and we have to connect to the internet with a navigator, with a modem connected to our telephone, T2, all the noises, and we are looking for information. Where did we go then? What browsers can you remember in 1997? Alta Vista, Infoseek, Yahoo. Let me show you Yahoo. That's Yahoo in 1997. This was your gate to the internet, the #1 player to search over the internet. And their supply was very simple. Everything appeared on the page so that you could find whatever you were looking for. On top it says Explore Mars. You could even go to Mars. You could do anything. So, going back to what I said before, you know how to evolve in a category once you're part of it. And you started thinking then and said, well, this category of browsers will evolve in such and such a way. We'll have more and more things. So with 1 or 2 clicks, we'll get to what we want. And that happens in all categories until someone reverts the situation, denying us of something we expect and giving us something different. So we go back to Yahoo to show the difference, and we say, well, now we have Google, which was the opposite. You had 3 links, 1 box. Look it up. Just go there. My job is to find what you're looking for. So this responded to people. They solved the problem of finding things. They solved it much better than Yahoo. This is what the book calls reverse positioned brands. Brands that are positioned like going backwards. Google is one example. IKEA is another. It has all kinds of furnitures outside the city, far from the city, and they are not assembled. You have to go there, pick it up, and assemble it when you get back home. And if you want to move, forget about the furniture. You cannot disassemble them. But IKEA is very important for many people. iPhone is another example. Remember? All the keyboards and all that. Oh, who needs keyboards? Then a screen. And the other example is we. Now it came back to using consoles. But for a short time, we separated from normal evolution of the category. What's going to happen in the next generation of consoles with processors and will become more realistic? And we said, no, we'll do something different. We'll give you something that's fun to play with. And it was quite a success. So this gave something unexpected, and the category, well, they have their ups and downs. So breaking away is another thing. Breakaway brand. It is doing the same, but with a twist. It was hard for me to find an example. I love categories, and every time I have something, I say, this belongs to such and such a category. I put things in little boxes. It's very practical. Yes, I saw this. This belongs to this category. This goes here, this goes there. But every now and then you have a new brand and says, change the boxes. For example, let's play a game. What is a circus? What does it require to be a circus? Clowns. Okay. What else? Speak up. Yes. Trapezes. Animals. Yes. Do they smell well? No, they don't. They have clowns, lots of things. Is this a circus? This is Le Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil said, well, what are the things of the circus category that I could forget about and still be a circus? Forget about animals. Let's be clean, smell well, have good music. It is a circus, but not the traditional circus. What is a rowboat? That's very easy. A rowboat in a factory, automated equipment, they move their arms, or science fiction. The robots are people like me with 2 legs and 2 arms, but they are robots. Sony, some years ago, was doing research in robotics. And they had a software that did not work well. So when you talk to the robot, he wouldn't respond. It followed you and it did unusual things. As a humanoid, it did not work. It was horrible. But as a pet, it did work. Because it did not answer. It's a pet. Well, it has its own personality. And I called the pet and it reacted. As a dog, it was great. They sold many. So what is the category they changed? Is it a robot? Is it not? Or about 25 years ago, if I had asked you, what is a cartoon? And you said, it's a product, it's animated, it's a drawing, it's for children, this and that. Until this gentleman arrived, and with The Simpsons, they changed everything. This is not for kids, this is for adults. The category changed. And finally, we have a third way of separating yourself from your competitors. And it is to be a little hostile regarding clients. It's difficult because in marketing, they teach us that we are the world, we are the children, and we have to be together. And problems need to be smoothed. One just point out what is good and forget the bad. But some brands say, to hell with that. Do you know Seinfeld? This is a joke. This is a man who had the best soup in New York. And he did not treat his customers well. They had to queue up, they had to behave if they wanted his soup. And they said, well, this is Seinfeld, this is television, but no, this is what brands do. In the US, do you know what this belongs to? Nobody knows? There's no one from advertising here? This was an ad. This is the ad. Just that. And this. Mini. We have mini cars. If you want XXL, look for something else. That's not us. They would take an SUV and put a mini on top, and they went around the city. We are like this. We are small. We are mini. If you like it, join us. If not, look for something else. Red Bull. I love this story. Energizing beverages did not exist. And the founder of Red Bull was there. He had the prototype. He sent it for market testing. And one after the other brought the results and said, never a beverage failed so much during the tests. Well, I like it like that. That's perfect, because it's not tasty. It's just an energy drink. It's different. It was quite a success. So these are brands that don't play down the faults. They even are based on those faults, and this is what they want to be. Now, I'm doing well in terms of time. As I started with music, I'll tell you a short story. There's one company. I didn't put the reference, but this is what appears in their website. When we generate a product, this following is going to happen. Anyone can copy it, get our people, they can do technology that is the same as ours, they can do exactly the same we are doing. But there is one thing they cannot do: copy who we are, what we do and why we do it, and why should somebody else care about what we do it, why we do it. So, who are we? What do we believe in? And think about this. Why should anybody care about us? And this is an example. I started with music, and I will finish with music. When Bob Dylan was recording a song that was a success in 1995, like Miss Robinson, the Beatles had not revolutionized recording, and Al Kruper was a guitar player, and he became famous for one thing. He played during that song. He went with his guitar, but he was not good enough. So, in the end, given different circumstances, he played a Hammond, which is a keyboard. So he was playing, and if you listen to the song, and then you hear toot, toot, he was learning the song. And then, during the solo and the chorus, he did something very special, very special. So when Bob Dylan arrived and he was listening to that, he said, I like the Hammond. He's not a keyboard player, but I don't mind. I like it. So we need to identify those melodies, that special thing that makes us different, and we have to raise the volume. So be different, but be aware that you're different. Thank you.